Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 138 of the Citrix session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. Wanted to quickly hit the record button so we can start talking because my panelists here, Bill Sutton, of course, Geremy Meyers from Citrix, and Monica Griesmer from Citrix, Bill with XenTegra, leading the delivery team. They were going on and on, not on and on. They were talking about the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer and Barbenheimer or whatever it is, and it was fun banter, and so I wanted to hit record as quick as I could. How's it going, guys?
Going
Excellent.
great, thanks.
Excellent. Yep.
All right, Bill, did you go see the Barbie movie this weekend?
Oh, no. My daughter, my 13-year-old.
That's a lie. You said before I hit record that you went and you loved it. Go ahead and tell the truth.
I didn't say that. Monica might have said that, but I didn't say that.
I did.
All right. So Bill didn't go. But Monica, did you go?
I did. I went to see the Barbie movie. I went to a 10 a.m. showing of it and it was still sold out. Everyone was in their pink. Everyone was saying hi Barbie to each other. You know, I was saying we work hard, but the Barbie marketing team works harder. It's really insane the amount of marketing I've seen for this.
That's amazing. Did you dress up, Monica? Did you go pink?
I did wear my pink. I absolutely did. I went with my mom and we had a great time. It's a great mix of the nostalgia mixed with a little bit of unexpected existentialism. So don't mean to make this a plug for the Barbie movie, but it's actually unexpected and quite good.
Well, what happened? Why is this happening? Is this the first Barbie movie ever? Why is this so important? I don't get it.
It's not the first Barbie movie ever, but I think everyone's kind of jumping on the nostalgia train, and it's backed by the amazing Greta Gerwig, who is the director of it. And I don't know. I just think it's a big deal. It appeals to girls and their moms and their dads and their friends. So Everyone's kind of resurrecting it. But I think Mattel's stock is about to skyrocket if I had to bet.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm gonna go see it, Andy. I'll tell you why. There's two reasons. One, it's like, all right, anything that has become like a pop culture sort of thing. Like, I'm not saying it's FOMO, but you go, all right, let's go check it out. If anything, there's the curiosity factor, right? There's definitely that. And I think the fact that, Monica mentioned the director, but I mean, listen, you got Ryan Gosling, like, love him or hate him, you've got certain calibers. It's like, this is not a B list of actors doing the movie. I mean, this is a pretty legit list. And you go, okay, well, now my curiosity factor is even up anymore. Listen, there's not a nostalgia factor. I've been around Barbie my whole life because, I was a kid of the 80s for sure, but now I'm curious for sure. So,
yeah.
I'm curious, Geremy or Andy, have you ever put together a Barbie dream house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun.
A lot of plastic parts that you're trying to pop into place, and then you get them wrong, and you got to take them out and put them the other way, and take them out, and they break. Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the other side of this coin was Oppenheimer the same weekend, so not even remotely related. I mean, honestly, could be still a little existential, but still. I'm super stoked about going to see that, actually.
So let me take this and tie it back to tech. Have you guys seen the apparently what somebody used artificial intelligence to blend the two movies together and came up with a video? Have you guys seen this?
I will hang up right now and watch that if you post the link. So please don't do that.
Go check out my LinkedIn. I posted it.
Okay.
It was pretty amazing. Actually, if somebody wants to put it up in the background, we'll share it and just let it play for a second and we'll talk through it a little bit. But just go to my LinkedIn, look for a post over the weekend. It was amazing. Now, I don't know if that was true. I can't, the amount of effort someone would have to go through to do that manually themselves would be off the charts. AI could have done it maybe in 10, 15 minutes all by itself. It was crazy. So that's how we're taking this conversation back to tech. So anybody go see Oppenheimer? No?
All right. Not yet. No.
I had every intention in the world of going with my son, and then we got busy over the weekend and we didn't make it. But I will go see that one in the theater. I think I will wait for it to come out on video somehow.
But
can you even say that? I'm gonna wait till Barbie to come out on video. Does that even count anymore? Like, is it Barbie out?
You got to say. I think the correct phrase is when it comes out on streaming. Or
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even now, right? So I want to go see Oppenheimer really bad, but I kind of don't want to leave my house. And so what I've gotten used to is on Apple TV, it will let me rent things at an obscene rate. Like, it's like I could buy it for $30 or rent it for like $20. But I don't want to leave the house. I'm the sort of person who likes to watch movies in chunks. So I'll sit down and watch some of it and then I'll come back to it. And I'm not really sure when that started, but I don't know. I like to be at my house. It's kind of
Well, I think that's the main reason I said that I didn't go see it. I didn't want to have to be on somebody else's schedule. I'd rather just click a button sometime in my house and watch it.
There's a tie into tech there somewhere.
Just wanted to start a business.
Here's the
See, I am a true theater goer. I love seeing a movie in a theater. So when we couldn't during COVID, it really was difficult for me. So I love that movies are back. So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum.
I will say this though, they recorded the Oppenheimer movie in IMAX, like the full on IMAX, and so I've been told if you're going to go see it in the theater, you got to go do that. Otherwise, maybe go see it at your house. But I will look around. I've heard it was packed, much like the 10 p.m. showing that was packed, 10 a.m. showing it was packed.
10 a.m. Yeah.
You're not
Saturday morning
10 p.m.er?
special. No.
well, the other part of that is it. I mean, you know, I don't know. When I was a kid in the 90s, we'd have 5 blockbuster movies, 10 blockbuster movies come out every summer. Speaking of which, there's a place near Planet Fitness where I go work out now with my 14-year-old son, and there's still a sign out front that there's a Blockbuster, and he's like, "Dad, what's a Blockbuster?" the Blockbuster sign's still there. But anyway, is it just a limited amount of movies? So therefore, you know, we're making a big deal out of these two. I don't know.
I'm actually I'm a huge World War II history person, so I was really looking forward to Oppenheimer and just the history behind that. And I'm sure it's more than just that. And then, listen, the Barbie thing is just a cultural icon, curiosity factor for me. So I'll probably go do it because it's such a big deal.
And I've heard the cameos in both movies are insane. I can attest to the cameos in Barbie. It's kind of like a game of Where's Waldo. Like, you're like, oh, there's John Cena, like just out of nowhere.
That's amazing.
Well, and so, okay, I'll tie it back to this podcast real quick. Hopefully the people listening are still listening and haven't cut it off at this point. But, you know, when you go see a movie about World War II or Barbie and you're learning, I don't know about the Barbie one, but you're learning something like the Oppenheimer one and you're entertained at the same time, that is the best way. That is the best way to learn. And a lot of the podcasts I listen to are kind of like that, entertaining yet learning all at the same time. Hey, I don't know if it was while recording or not, but the link for today was working a minute ago and now it's not working. So any idea how I get the link for today's content for the podcast?
All right, I'm going to post the link. Now, it was redirecting to the broken link, but try that.
Okay.
Try that. So Andy, now I'm going to talk about the sausage, Andy. So we did switch hosting platforms for the blog, and you know, as part of the translation of the links, apparently a couple of them didn't get translation just right. So,
well, crap.
Try it in an incognito window.
Okay.
This is technical support in action right now. And if this doesn't work, then we're going to grab some traces. We're going to send that to the dev analysis team. We'll get back to you in 7 to 10 days. Bill knows what I'm talking about.
Trace.
Yeah, you got the trace.
So I searched for it in incognito. Hold on, let me copy and paste that. Sorry. Keep talking about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tie it back to marketing actually, because I brought that up earlier. I think the Barbie team, as a marketer myself, it's been a feat of collaborations, of partner marketing, of alliance marketing. So to tie it back to my life, it's been pretty unreal. My mom and I last night were watching an HGTV show where they're creating a real life Barbie dream house, and it's a competition. So they've tied it into HGTV, Discovery, Chevy's on board. I've seen Ruggable, there's rugs, there's anything. Any partner alliance you could think of, Barbie probably has a stake in it. So in terms of a marketing moment, it's really a masterclass. I can see us studying this for years to come.
Yeah.
Did that take away from the movie? Did you find yourself not even paying attention to what was going on because you noticed all these little
So they did a
things?
pretty good job in the movie of not plugging too many brands. It was external to it. The only ones I noticed in the movie were Chevy. I noticed Chanel, and those were the big ones that I noticed. So they did a pretty good job of not being like Barbie's holding a Coca-Cola, So it was more out of product. If you look at the movie as being a product, it was more out of product marketing, which I found very impressive.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Oh, guys, I cannot get back to this thing. Do Monica or Geremy?
I've got it up. I can share it.
Yeah, why don't you share your screen?
Can you allow it?
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to make you a co-host on the fly here.
Okay.
Also, the Oppenheimer movie is, I think, 3 hours long. It's a long one, is what it is. And I probably watched as many videos on YouTube about that era of all the things, just going down YouTube rat holes. Like, this is how the bomb worked, and this is the little history behind Oppenheimer himself and his circle, and just so much information.
It is.
All right.
So,
All right.
Monica, you're on the enhancing security and compliance. Is that where we left off last time, or you want to recap a little bit?
I
No, I think that's where we
believe
left off.
I believe so. Yeah. So now that we're jumping into it, switching gears a little bit, but talking about marketing, talking about products across the board and technology, we are recapping the what's new with CVAD 2305 and cloud updates. So the updates from the past quarter. This is our incredibly long blog that we do quarterly to discuss the different features that have come out. So in the previous 2 blogs, we recapped the information on features concerning operational IT and efficiency, as well as workload and device flexibility. So where I think we left off a couple of weeks ago is we were talking about our alliance partners, Azure, Google, Microsoft. We spoke to the Linux VDA and things happening with endpoint management. So we've been talking a lot about how to improve admin experience, how we've improved our relationships with our hyperscalers. And now today, I think we're going to jump into how we've enhanced security. So while I have the proverbial mic here, I'll also say a lot of this content I was helped with my fellow PMs who cover secure private access and Citrix Analytics. So would love to have an open discussion. I'm not as big of an expert on these pieces. I did get quite a lot of help, but still great topics for us to cover today. So excited to get into it.
Okay. So, Monica, since you're going to be driving us, okay, so maybe I'll drive us. So the general idea that Citrix continues to invest in security and compliance, that's important still, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think I know we're also coming back to the idea and concept of zero trust. Everything we do has an underlying red thread back to making sure we go with the zero trust initiatives, and everything needs to be secure, right? That's why we're doing virtualization in the first place. Yes, it's centralization and it's making admins' lives easier, but it's knowing where all of your data is and having your hands on it and being able to lock it down, being able to add security policies around it. That is something we will always hang our hats on, is making things incredibly secure. So we have not dwindled in our efforts here.
So before we talk about these specific things, I want to just call out, because not enough people think this way, that a non-persistent virtual desktop running back in a data center or in a cloud somewhere with lots of controls around it is one heck of a strong security play. And if you don't believe me, just go into one of our customers after a ransomware attack, and the only thing left standing is the reboot to a gold image Citrix environment. So there's that. And then there's the new things we're going to talk about. And then session recording. We did a podcast last week, a webinar with Google and Citrix. And one of the folks listening said, "Does that mean Citrix can spy on me, or my company can spy on me?" And the answer is yes, but that's not the intent. The intent is to provide you a better experience in security and being able to watch and see what's going on. Using analytics, not watching you real time, full time, but having an idea of what's going on. That is a security play that trumps almost everything else out there. In terms of what it can do for the organization and the environment. Before I move on, regarding the legacy of Citrix, and when I say Citrix, I mean, the presented desktops, presented apps from a VDI or from a server OS. Bill, your thoughts on that as a security strategy?
No, I completely agree. Of course, I don't know what to read into you wanted me to talk about a legacy product. So, I don't know, calling me old or something maybe. Nevertheless, I'm just giving you a rough time, Andy. No.
Well, I'm
No,
sorry I called it legacy because it is as viable today as it's
It
ever.
is. I mean, when you look at the legacy of this, though, going back to the early days of WinFrame and presentation server, I mean, the same principles, to your point, apply. Centralizing the delivery to the data center, limiting the traffic that can pass between the endpoint and the data center to only the ICA or HDX traffic, and locking down things like clipboard and local drives and all of those things really enhance security in the data center from the standpoint of the endpoint. The endpoint really doesn't have any access into the data center in that situation, other than just the remoting protocol, which obviously, without question, enhances security. And then you bring that forward to today, and we've got even more capabilities with the ability to watermark and the ability to do keylogger protection, app protection. So it has come full circle, but the tenets, the foundation, has been there for years.
But Bill, even take the remoting protocol and turn off printing, turn off clipboard mapping. I mean, what do you have left at that point? Taking a picture of the screen, really?
Pretty much, yep. And now with app protection, you can still take a picture of the screen, but your username and IP address will be all over the picture.
Yeah. And so I often use WikiLinks as an example. Had the government been using Citrix to present that solution instead of allowing full access to those files, WikiLinks would have never happened.
In all likelihood, you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Geremy, chime in on the general idea that what we call Citrix, as if it's a verb or some type of certain object, as a security play is a viable thing.
I mean, 100%. I mean, even the roots of the product, like you said. By the way, I'm glad you picked Bill first. Makes me feel slightly younger. But I mean, it was performance and security is what it was, right? Performance because it was client server apps back when that product was first introduced. And the idea of doing that across a VPN that was probably made up of not a VPN, but like a dial-in link. So Monica, I'm going to throw that one at you. We used to have servers with modem banks in it.
Digiboards.
Digiboards. That's right. That's how you dialed in. That was your quote unquote VPN. So there you go. But I mean, it was performance. And then the other piece of it was security, right? So I mean, it was very much client server. If you had a laptop and you had data on it, I mean, you were at risk. But I think because you've centralized it, you open up so many other, outside of just containing the data, which is awesome, right? So now I can restrict copy and paste and things like that. But the fact that we've centralized it from a security perspective, I mean, we just unlock so much more ability, right? And so session recording is one of those pieces. App protection is one of those pieces. There's just so much visibility around where the data is, what's happening, and even to integrate tools that aren't even Citrix related, right? So if you have a DLP solution, right, guess what? That can sit inside that virtual desktop. There's so many pieces that you can layer onto this solution that just don't get unlocked if you're doing this all remotely. It's tough.
Yeah. All right, Monica, educate us on the 3 bullets that are new or updated or new.
Yeah. So we're going to kick this section off with session recording. I know we've spoken about it a little bit here this morning, but I like and dislike, Andy, how you said folks are asking you if Citrix was spying on you. A valid question. The answer, you said yes. I mean, the thing is, with the Citrix session recording technologies, yes, it is recording your user session. Almost always it has a pop-up that says that is happening. Like, hello, we are recording your session. And as a user, you have to acknowledge that. But additionally, it's huge for troubleshooting. We were actually just talking about troubleshooting the blog site, right? Maybe if we saw, Andy, what was happening on your side and had a recording of your screen, we could fix the problem like that. But
or like with Barbie, we have analytics that's looking and fixing the problem real time.
Exactly. I think Barbie probably has analytics on me. They've heard me talking about it enough. So I am their target audience and now I get ads. But to that point, everything is watching us all of the time anymore. I think we would be kind of naive to think the opposite. But even with that, there are specific parameters that Citrix admins can put around session recording. For example, we have screen recordings, kind of cutting edge stuff. We're working on audio recordings, just specific things to give admins more flexibility. Specific to what we had last quarter, both on premises and in the cloud, we're innovating with session recording. So in the cloud service, we've introduced new activity feeds. That's something that's great within the cloud is we can have a lot more dynamic dashboards to allow admins to see what is happening within their session recording servers. So they're built in and they have system event logs, tasks progress, and API history. We've also added a new client daemon to maintain the running state of the client and try to fix it automatically if the client runs abnormally. And then lastly, for the cloud and session recording, we've added email admins for session recording events. So if the CPU is too high or your storage is overloaded within session recording service, your admin will simply get an email about it. So just really improving that experience in tandem with the security.
Hey, Monica, I do want to chime in. The question was, can Citrix spy on me? And really, it's your customer, the customer's IT department.
Yes,
they could, but they can look at everything you're doing already.
Yes,
this technology to get smarter and better and have the ability to do trainings and proactive support things. It's your company's technology. Yes, of course they can. They can do anything they want with it.
Right.
Really. This just enables
exactly
all of us to do things better.
Totally agree.
So Andy, this was not in the blog post, but this was something that I got from one of the PMs. What we've also introduced here, so it mentioned support for Azure SQL database. So, in the past, we've always had to stand up some sort of SQL database to host just information about the sessions, things like that. That's what it tied into. But there's a new service. It's a simplified session recording service. So if you're doing this in the cloud, from session recording, there's a workflow where you can press a button and it will automatically push out session recording servers. It'll configure Azure SQL. It'll set up any of the load balancing required for redundancy, as well as a location within Azure files to host the recording. So again, trying to simplify that deployment. If you did this on-prem and you pulled up the architecture of what session recording looked like, there was a lot of stuff you had to go turn on. Now, what's nice about the cloud is it's been, all right, we can integrate and actually host some of those components of session recording. But now we've got the next level, which is you press a button and actually have all these components deployed for you within your Azure subscription, which is fantastic. Obviously, it means you got to be using Azure in this case, but it's just simplifying turning this on and getting it running. So again, I think the idea is how can we enable customers and administrators to turn this on with just the least amount of effort, which has always been a roadblock in the past.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It definitely has been a roadblock, Geremy. A lot of folks have wanted this, but obviously the ramp to getting there was maybe too high, or appeared to be too high or too complex. So certainly the simplification. And I also wanted to comment on what Monica said, which I really like, which is using this as a troubleshooting tool. And I don't know how many times in my days as a consultant, I'd go to a customer, so they'd say, well, Sally, the assistant to the CEO, had an issue last week at 4:00 where the session froze, or they couldn't access their application properly, or they were getting errors. Well, what's the error? Well, they didn't record it. They didn't write it down. So having the ability to be able to go back and look at that and see what actually happened, if you've got it set up correctly, is certainly very beneficial from a troubleshooting perspective and being able to resolve issues and make the experience better.
But in a lot of cases, it's not a technical issue. It's just a user training issue. Like you've got end users. At the end of the day, you got to look over end user's shoulder sometimes just to see what they're doing, because sometimes they're just doing it wrong, even though they won't describe it that way.
I have a story on this one where we were doing a proof of concept to roll Citrix out of the hospital. Actually, it's a local hospital here, Geremy. You would know if I said their name. And we were doing the user acceptance testing, and it was just within the internal IT team. And we had session recording turned on, but the people doing it did not know we had session recording turned on. And they reported, one of the department leads reported that it didn't work and it was broken, it being Citrix. And we went back and watched the session. They did something with an app that everybody in the company knew didn't work. It was the app that was broken, and they did that intentionally in the testing so they could turn around and say that something was broken within Citrix. True story.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Monica, anything else on this part you want to cover?
Yeah. So continuing on with session recording on premises, just mention a few things. What Geremy was mentioning there is we've added support for Azure SQL database on-prem. We've also added the configuring time span for blocking sensitive information disclosure. So we block 1 or more second recordings prior to the occurrence of the session pause so that the block before the session pause to prevent a gap when the recording can be blocked. So we're just recording ahead of time. And then support for sharing recordings as unrestricted links. I've been working with the PM on this a bit, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? It's really an easier way for admins who have specific credentials, so it's still incredibly secure, to more easily share those recordings. So Andy, in your case, your admins on the back end, right, needed to see these recordings, and maybe one of your colleagues who has the rights to it, you needed to send them a link directly to be able to prove your point. It's just an easier way to share amongst admins who have the rights to view them. So the creation of the links is logged and secured with the recording hosted on the session recording infrastructure. So making those troubleshooting and incident reportings easier to locate and share.
Yeah. So in other words, you might have, to your point, Andy, folks want to know, hey, am I being recorded? Sure. You work for the company, it's their technology, you sign some sort of, terms of service, right? Acceptable use policy. But, these recordings might be hosted and managed by a security team, right? They want to keep this, or maybe even HR, right? But you've got a group of folks who need to own these for whatever reason, probably compliance wise. It sounds like, if I needed to extend this out to a specific admin, I could send a link, unrestricted, probably time bound if I had to imagine, to give folks access to a specific thing without giving them access to the console and any of the other pieces that are part of the infrastructure, right? Just keep it simple.
Yep.
All right, Monica, keep going.
Yep. So the next one on the list is we are getting into some secure private access updates. So on the whole, secure private access, we're starting to create more and more robust offerings for locking down those web and SaaS applications, adding watermarks, adding policies on top of those, and we're just continuously throwing features in here. So a couple that I'm specifically talking to here first today is we now have support for DNS suffix. So when using the Citrix Secure Access agent to access file shares, the customer can enable the CSA agent to resolve non-fully qualified domain name to a fully qualified domain name. So this is through adding DNS suffix domain for the backend servers. So continuing to add that support that our admins are used to.
This is great, by the way. I'm so used to just doing, as an admin, doing / server name, trying to hit a network share or something like that. I mean, it's just like second nature. Now, granted, with AD, I've gotten used to typing a fully qualified domain name in certain cases, but the fact that I can just go back to either mapping a share based on a server name, knowing that it's going to resolve based on, it looks like I can do a priority list of DNS suffixes, but either way, this is pretty slick.
No, it is. It's really powerful. Most users don't know how important domain and host names are in today's world, because a lot of people just throw it in a search window and search for it. Amazingly, the link comes up and you click on it versus going straight there. But it still applies in a lot of scenarios.
Absolutely. And continuing on with SPA updates, so secure private access updates, we've added application discovery. So this provides automated discovery and reporting of those internal applications and IP addresses. So sometimes there's internal applications where admins don't have visibility to them, or they don't have as much security parameters around them. So app discovery actually shows up in a dashboard, and you've got timelines of the apps that SPA discovered, how many users are there, how often people go there. So it just gives you more and more visibility into your environments, and you don't have that like shadow IT or people. You have more visibility into what's going on. So this is a pretty big deal.
No, it's a huge deal. I've been on multiple calls in the last 2 business days, Friday and then today, talking about, browser related and your what we would call Citrix, using air quotes here, applications, which would be things that we're doing through a browser and other applications versus a published app, published desktop, VDI scenario. And more of the world is under the impression that we're going to move to browser-based things as we go forward, things like secure private access and allowing access from the outside back in to those technologies on the back end while still getting all the analytics go with it. When somebody says, I know everything about Citrix and what Citrix does, and I realize right away they don't know this part of the Citrix story, then they really don't know Citrix.
Mm-hmm.
So what I love about this is, number one, it's the only reason this solution exists is because with existing VPNs, we don't know what's running across them. So we have turned this thing on. It opens itself up to the world, just traditional legacy VPN. And so you've got folks using it. So when you transition to a solution, which by the way, VPNs for the most part are trust by default and then start dialing things back, which is hard to manage, by the way. The Citrix solution is zero trust by default and then enable services based on what folks need. And so the challenge is migrating from legacy VPN is you don't know what's going across the VPN. What do I need to support? What are folks doing? Some of it's going to be shadow IT. Some of it's just legitimate. But at the end of the day, it's really tough to tell. And so what this does is you get visibility into, what's out there. And then if I understand correctly, this is the hope, Monica. So keep me straight here, because this is something that we've been working on for a while that's finally gone live. But based on what the tool sees, can it automatically create rules for it based on, is there like a workflow where you go, oh yeah, this website here, I'm looking at the top here. Folks are going to yahoo.com, maybe a bad example, but let's just say yahoo.com is something that we need to turn on. Will it let me go through and actually create a rule based on what I see?
I believe so, but don't hold me to that.
It does say create app. So as Andy is zoomed in the far right corner, it looks like based on what it discovered, you can create an app based on that discovery and just go ahead and create a rule. So that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
If I understand this correct, that you would turn this on once you had SPA in place and essentially be treating it like a VPN, kind of like a discovery, almost like a whitelist, and then start dialing it back just like you would do with a VPN? Or is this a separate product that you would run before you put in SPA?
So this would be something that is already a part of SPA. You would create, you probably open it up and just let folks do their normal job, but with the new solution, right? Okay. And then once you've discovered what's out there, you create your policies and eventually just turn off open access. That makes sense?
That's kind of where I was going. Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense.
Yep. We've also, to SPA, we've also added REST APIs to app and access policy configurations in a tech preview right now. So this should be coming soon. So in hybrid deployments today, automation of management tasks is really important, and SPA APIs allow for that automation of creation and updating of applications and access policies. So just adding an API to the API library to automate this stuff. So I feel like APIs are where we're going. You were talking about writing code, doing a lot of backslashes, but incorporating this to make applications and access policies even simpler and even more automated is a really great step forward for making admins' lives easier.
I mean, I would say not only making admins' lives easier, I think 5 years from now, everything is just going to be automated. Like if you're an admin, what you're good at is just automating processes is what it is. And so just about anything we do in the cloud, honestly, most vendors now, they're adding REST APIs specifically to automate everything about it. I mean, I'm thinking of Trevor and his MSP business, Andy. I'm just thinking, like, how do you just not automate the crap out of everything? I think that's where it needs to be.
Well, if it's not automation, it is tying it into like a ServiceNow in our SPR again, inside there, have the ability to configure this stuff without actually going into it. You're doing it centrally within ServiceNow using those APIs to push it out.
And that's an important point. So back in the day, I won't say how back in the day because that'll just make it sound old, Bill, but I mean, we were automating by scripting. Like my whole goal was to be the laziest admin ever, right? Whatever I could do to not have to do anything. Sounds terrible, but that was the goal. But to your point, automation today doesn't necessarily mean writing scripts. Maybe that's what it means from like, I've got a JSON file that I'm using to deploy Azure things with, but it's more the integration between products, right? So, the idea that I can go to a ServiceNow and define a workflow, which by the way, could be I'm onboarding a new user, do these things. ServiceNow needs to be able to tie into all those different platforms to make it happen. And so what Citrix is doing is opening up this API to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I believe the last section here of our security is speaking to analytics. So I guess the theme of this blog, I was feeling a lot like visibility, admin visibility, which obviously ties into security. So our analytics for security product line is continuing to get more and more features as well. And we currently have a tech preview for username masking and are equipping our customers with more flexibility in terms of role-based access control. So we are adding privacy administrator role in addition to the full admin and read-only admin. So I believe it's kind of the median between being a full admin on analytics or security, and being a read-only admin. So I believe, have kind of a median amount of rights. I need to double check exactly what privacy admins can do, but just adding more options for role-based access control for admins.
So we're getting more granular, right? That's what we're
Yep.
doing in terms of being under control. And we're still in the SPA conversation.
We're in analytics for security now. So I switched gears on you.
You did, and I got distracted for 2 seconds. I'm blowing up over here.
I understand.
No, so that's a very common conversation. We talk about security administration on the back end. Who has access to this stuff? It's great, we got it, but whether it's session recordings or analytics, how granular can we get on controlling? By default, who has access to it? Like nobody, unless they're opted in. And then how granular can we get?
Exactly. And I know we bring up role-based access control a lot across the board. So across all of our products, it's who has access to it, but what can they do? And once they do get access to it, and that's huge. Like I could read only things, or I could fully break environments. Sometimes on the back end, I'm in test or demo environments. I'm like, I feel like I have too many rights here. Like I could break this if I wanted to. I shouldn't have that in my hands. So role-based access control is incredibly important. Not that I would intentionally try to break anything, but having the power to. With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, that goes back to the previous conversation, right? If I can take my ServiceNow implementation and manage all of these access models and strategies from there versus doing it at one-off all over the place, I'd have a fighting chance.
Absolutely.
There was a time that I'm sure Andy and Bill remember when everyone was a domain admin. If you were an admin on the network, you're probably domain admin. And then all it took was security breaches and folks doing some squirrely things under that domain admin account that they had to start logging what folks did. So then you had your super user account, and then you had this is what I just do to do my day-to-day job. Maybe some elevated privileges, but ultimately, this is really important. Like a lot of enterprise environments need to be able to differentiate who has access to what. And so, I'd be curious to see what some of our larger customers are doing, but I got to imagine you're going to get to the point where you're a read-only administrator for a lot of things, and only a handful of folks have access to full administration. And that might even be security team. It might be a user account you only use when you go in and configure things. But this is why we're adding all these privileged levels and whatnot. Is we got to be able to log what folks are doing, and most folks don't need configuration rights to everything. That's what it is. And I'd argue that even read-only administrators should be the default for most folks.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Until you need it, you shouldn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those that need it have to survive or have to be able to go through an MFA challenge, a multi-factor challenge, to get in, even using their admin account.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the last piece that we had in the security section is we've added new integration for Azure Active Directory users and groups. So added this into analytics for security, Azure AD users and groups. So just continuing to add those features and capabilities. Like I said, this is the last part of the security section, but that doesn't mean we have to end our conversation here. We got some beefy employee experience information coming up though. So Andy, I'll let you make the call if we want to keep rolling or if we're moving this on to a part 4 as well.
I don't know because I can't see the blog. I don't know how far we could get in the next one in 5 minutes.
I'm not sure if we could cover this in 5 minutes.
35 minutes.
There's a lot of good topics here.
Yeah.
All right.
It's about employee experience. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
The last thing we care about is how this impacts the users.
Well, I'll tie this together. Okay. So yeah, so it looks like that's the all right. So Geremy just made a comment, which is funny but true. We have been talking about security. We're getting ready to talk about end user experience. Those two things matter more than everything else we could possibly talk about. So let's don't try to rush through that. We'll make it a part 4.
good.
Perfect.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for having a great conversation around the movies and some of the security things changing in the Citrix world around 2305 and DaaS. We'll pick it up again next week.
Excellent.
Looking
Good to see you
forward to
guys.
it. Thanks all.
Seeing y'all.
All right. Thanks.